the middle of the week already. How did we do that? Hey, I want to show you something real quick. Hey, Rusty, you want to go out? Oh, we want to go out? Now he's going to roll in the grass. What a silly dog. Rusty, what you doing? What you doing? I thought that might be more energetic than it was. I think I might know how stand-up comedians feel when they tell a joke and it doesn't land. All right, we should get started. So let's jump over and see what we've got going on at the calendar. Are you ready to do calendar again, Miss Haley?
Yes.
All right. What was yesterday's number, Miss Haley?
7.
Okay. So what does that mean today's number is?
8.
Oh, great.
Miss Abby?
Yeah?
What is this?
You know what? I am going to talk about that, but let's finish our calendar first.
Okay.
Okay. So if this is our number, what does that make our day?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. And what's our month?
April.
Wonderful. All right, I think we can say our date, and then I can talk to you about this picture. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Today is Wednesday, April 8th, 2020. Now, for just a second, I'd like to talk to you about this picture. I'll bring it in close so you can see. This word down here says Passover. Do you remember talking about the Jewish people in the Bible? Passover is the holiday that they celebrate in order to remember when God passed over the Hebrew people in Egypt. Do you remember that story with Moses? That's the story that we read in the Bible a long time ago, where God told Moses to go to the Pharaoh and say, "Let my people go." But the Pharaoh said no a bunch of times. And then God told his people to take the blood of a lamb and put it on their doorway so that God would know which houses to pass over when he went through the land of Egypt and took away all the firstborn. That's why they celebrate Passover. And that's the holiday that Jesus was celebrating with his friends the night before he died on the cross. That's why it's important to talk about Passover around Easter time. And it's time for Weather Watcher now. Get your fingers ready. Weather Watcher, what do you see? What do you see? Tell us what the weather's like. Tell us what the weather's like. Won't you please? Won't you please? Today's craft might have something to do with what we're reading in our Bible. Let's go look. Today, we are going to be making watercolor crosses on paper. You need construction paper, painter's tape, masking tape will work okay, but painter's tape is better, watercolor paints, and water. Easy! Make a cross on your paper, and then get to painting. It's as easy as that. I like to go in rainbow colors around my cross. Miss Haley is making what looks like a sunset. When you're done, simply peel the tape off of your paper to see the white cross surrounded by your beautiful paint. Wow, what a pretty painting. And now that we're back here in my room, I think it's time to read our Bible story today. So remember, yesterday we left off with Jesus getting arrested in the garden. It was so sad and he was so scared. But he was trusting that God knows what's best, and he let it happen. Let's keep reading to find out what comes next. So you're a king, are you? The Roman soldiers jeered. Then you'll need a crown and a robe. They gave Jesus a crown made out of thorns and put a purple robe on him and pretended to bow down to him. "Your Majesty," they said. Then they whipped him and spat on him. They didn't understand that this was the Prince of Life, the King of heaven and earth, who had come to rescue them. The soldiers made him a sign, "Our King," and nailed it to a wooden cross. They walked up a hill outside the city. Jesus carried the cross on his back. Jesus had never done anything wrong. But they were going to kill him the way criminals were killed. They nailed Jesus to the cross. "Father, forgive them," Jesus said. "They don't understand what they're doing." "You say you've come to rescue us," people shouted, "but you can't even rescue yourself." But they were wrong. Jesus could have rescued himself. A legion of angels would have flown to his side if he'd called. "If you were really the Son of God, you could just climb down off that cross," they said. And of course they were right. Jesus could have just climbed down. Actually, he could have just said a word and made it all stop. Like when he healed that little girl and stilled the storm and fed 5,000 people. But Jesus stayed. You see, they didn't understand. It wasn't the nails that kept Jesus there. It was love. "Papa," Jesus cried, frantically searching the sky. "Papa, where are you? Don't leave me." And for the first time, and the last, when he spoke, nothing happened. Just a horrible, endless silence. God didn't answer. He turned away from his boy. Tears rolled down Jesus' face, the face of the one who would wipe away every tear from every eye. Even though it was the middle of the day, a dreadful darkness covered the face of the world. The sun could not shine. The earth trembled and quaked. The great mountains shook. Rocks split in two until it seemed that the whole world would break. That creation itself would tear apart. The full force of the storm of God's fierce anger at sin was coming down on his own Son instead of his people. It was the only way God could destroy sin and not destroy his children whose hearts were filled with sin. Then Jesus shouted in a loud voice, "It is finished!" And it was. He had done it. Jesus had rescued the whole world. "Father," Jesus cried, "I give you my life." And with a great sigh, he let himself die. Strange clouds and shadows filled the sky. Purple, orange, black. Like a bruise. Jesus' friends gently carried Jesus. They laid him in a tomb carved out of rock. How could Jesus die? What had gone wrong? What did it mean? They didn't know anything anymore, except they did know their hearts were breaking. "That's the end of Jesus," the leaders said. But just to be sure, they sent strong soldiers to guard the tomb. They hauled a huge stone in front of the door to the tomb so that no one could get in or out. That's a really sad story because Jesus didn't have to die. He's Jesus. He's God. But because we have done so many bad things and we keep doing them, he chose to die for Miss Abby and for all of you. That's how much he loves you. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that today. I just want all of you to think about it. We'll read the happy ending tomorrow, but I think it's a good idea to think about the sad part of the story for just a little while. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.